customer has lost over £5,000 at the start of his extension project, and it's only because he did not want to listen, because he knew better, and I could say because he began to listen to advices of people like next door neighbours, online, and friends who have nothing to do with the building with the building industry or construction sites, if you like. But before I get to this, hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, what I do on this channel is I'm making videos to help people maybe like yourself to understand what's going on the building side, how to build extensions, what do you need to know to start with the extension with the current times, and give you stories about from my past, what can actually go wrong with extensions or with the builds, where the things can go wrong, and is it possible to avoid those mistakes. I'll just ask you, if you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button right on the bottom here somewhere. Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah, I don't know. Just hit the subscribe button. That will help to my channel to grow and reach more people, hopefully, and those people that might need some help. If you're a customer, hopefully I will help you. If you potentially a person that wants to build their extension, then let's hope this video is going to help you. If you're a builder, this particular video might actually help you, because there will be some nice piece of advice at the end of the video of it. So please subscribe again, and now I'll get back to the video. I'm going to say I'm sorry. I'm stuttering and talking a bit weird. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm trying to be as professional as I can, but it's going to take me some time before I get to it. But right, back to the story, okay? It's a bit long one, a bit chaotic, but let's do it this way. So where he lost the money, foundations. So he basically didn't want to listen. But what happened? So we start digging. We agree for the job. Let's put it this way: we signed a contract. We've hired the digger, set the day, hired the digger, digger came to site, and we started to build an extension. So obviously we started with foundations themselves. We dig the first leg, not very deep, purely because of the one of the legs. In one of the legs there was a sewer pipe, and we had to go around it, and customer didn't want us to disconnect it at that stage, so we said we're going to dig this particular one manually. We move into the back of the foundations, start excavating the back of it, and worth mentioning, my contract got something called variations, and that covers how deep I'm going to dig foundations in quotation. And if I will have to dig it deeper than estimated, then obviously there's an extra charge for it. And to those who think like, well, you can dig however deep you want, no. The answer really to this is, I don't know how deep do I need to dig until I dig it all out. And to those who think I could do trial hole first, well, the trial hole, digging, as long as customer pays us for the trial hole, fine, we could potentially dig the trial hole, but it doesn't really indicate everything. It won't help you exactly, because then one particular spot of the foundation might be different than the other corner of it. So my foundation at that time, my contract was covering to 80 centimeters depth. We were digging the back of the foundation, and we got to meter, and this is where things starting to turning bad. The ground is bad. We dig in bricks, we dig in wood, we dig in glass bottles, all sorts of things coming out from the foundation. Obviously, straight away, we're notifying customer that the ground isn't good. We already at the meter depth. We need to either go deeper, or we need to seek advice from the building inspector or structural engineer about conditions of the foundation, because once we move forward with it, they'll be very difficult to come back with it again, carry on. So At that time, by the way, I just want to say, it was several years backwards. The building inspector could still advise you on the spot. So it's a bit different to these times. So it's worth to go back to my videos where I'm explaining to you current situation with professionals like building inspector, structure engineer, architect, architectural design, and the builders. So there's numbers of things that have changed over time. But the building inspector at that time could still advise. Straight away, you could tell when we mentioned that we need to get building inspector, the customer wasn't really so keen on doing it. Wasn't so happy about this. You could tell. So he says, "Well, can you go deeper?" Yeah. So, well, that's fine. We will try, but it doesn't look promising. So we went deeper. We gone overall depth of 1.5 meter, and as suspected, and as we told customer, the foundations are still not very good. They still there's still bricks coming out of it, there's still glass bottles coming out of it, and many other things, but not the original ground. That's the indication. For those who don't know, you need to reach original grounds, or virgin grounds as we calling it. And if you can't have it, then you need to go deeper. And once we hit 1.5, why we didn't go deeper? My insurance, as most of the insurance, covers me to 1.5 depth. It's already very deep, and most insurance companies will tell you once you pass 1.5, there's becoming very dangerous excavations, and you need professional shuttering to be implemented, that kind of foundation. So no, I couldn't. It's a simple saying, I could not go deeper in overall length of the foundations. Again, we advise customer to see the building inspector, but because we have appointed building inspector, I start to feel that the customer thinks that we purposely maybe underpriced the job, and now because we pay to structure engineer and he works in close relation with us, he's going to confirm my worries, and yes, we will need to go deeper, or we're going to get another company that probably we know, like piling companies, and advise and pay them and make some more money on him. So the very next day, customers' attitude towards us changed rapidly, and he literally, I think he just decided to take control of the project and start making his own decisions. The key troubles were the next door neighbor. He was building his own extension. He was at the stage of finishing his extension, where we were at the stage of starting extension, and happens that he just done the regular foundation. So that's one thing for the customer to think, like, why we need to go so deep, or why do we need pile foundations where the next door neighbor's building's his extension and he goes very shallow. The worse it was getting, that even another next door neighbor's a bit further down apparently was a structure engineer, and he advised him that the piling foundation will be very expensive. I mean, potentially, yes, it can be very expensive, and it's actually giving you the ends of the story. It's one of the reasons why you go excessively expensive on these foundations. However, I think what he was imagining as the piling foundation was these big machines you see in the videos, or the machines they actually using to build skyscrapers, and then drilling them very deep down, or piling these big posts down with a very heavy hammers. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but in domestic, it's absolutely different. It's a very small pneumatic hammer or hydraulic hammer with the compressor attached by a hose, and it's basically whacking these steel posts down. It's a bit more complicated maybe than this, but it's not that difficult. But that's what customer, I think, thought, and he didn't want to listen. We suggested him to stop and seek advice from the building inspector. He insisted on continuing. So we signed separate conditions that we're not taking responsibility for this, although he does pay for the job itself, and we continue to dig. So the overall length, which by the way was about 27 meters of the linear meters of the foundations, we gone to 1.6 average depth, and the ground wasn't any better. It was still really bad, as I was expecting it. So we exposed it, and I know it might sound like I'm trying to add some drama to the whole story, but generally that's how it was. Again, the same next door neighbour who's been building his extension at the same time, or actually finishing his extension, his mains valve on the pavement was actually leaking, and there was a small puddle on his drive, which you wouldn't think, you could possibly think that was a rain or whatever, that could indicate that was a leak, but it didn't. But that ended up in our customer's foundation, because obviously we went far deeper than the valve is actually dug in. The ground was already so saturated that the very next day when we finished digging, we turn up to site, and the foundation was full of water. The ground began to collapse into the foundations and had to be excavated again. Luckily, we still had a digger. We could extend rental for another day, because I know the company, and they helped us in, and they lent us the digger for one more day. But that was quite dangerous. Again, the ground was really saturated around that particular corner. Everything was still collapsing, so it was very dangerous to be even close to the foundation. So we finished it. The ground is bad. Customer's holding his head. Barely have any hairs, like me now. And what happens is, what's the next stage? Well, we need to call building inspector. And it was like, why? Well, we already exposed the foundation. But we said the foundation has to be inspected by the building inspector. He can't put any concrete down until the building inspector sign it off. And this is where the customer's attitude went absolutely upside down, not to swear. And I'm not going to use the words. He was describing the whole situation, but you can imagine. And he was really bad. It was really bad. So, sorry, excuse me. Customer, the building inspector turned up. And as expected, the building inspector looked into the foundation, and he says the ground is really bad. And his advice was to reach out for the structure engineer. So I called the structure engineer. You know already the story. The customer thinks it's because it's my structure engineer, he will advise on our favor. There's no favor. We're not really keen, because it's already delaying the entire project. We're not keen to extend it or spend those money or whatever. But he thinks, our structure engineer obviously says, if the ground is really bad, we literally done this on the spot. The building inspector spoke to our structure engineer and the customer on the loudspeaker. They all three talked together. So the structure engineer didn't really have to come back. Building inspector, as a professional, explained to him, this condition is really bad, explain what's in the ground, and the structure engineer said, now what we need to look into this, do calculations, but he would advise in these conditions and that depth to do pile foundations. Something that we told the customer right at the beginning, more or less, okay? Never mind. So customers start looking for pile foundation company, because I think he was thinking that we're trying to pull some funny game on this one. So he seek for the piling company. In the meantime, the neighbor, who presumably was a structure engineer in the past, advised him to use his colleague to do drawings, calculations for the pile foundations, because it was inevitable we had to do pile foundations. So the story takes a twist here, because again, most piling companies I dealt with in the past or dealing now, they have their own structure engineers, and they do calculations in price, and we've been on the both sides. It's always cheaper to use piling company. They always work out cheaper. on these jobs. So customer already pay, external structure engineer, piling company turned up, and now cost escalating. Okay, if you don't know, I'll make another video. If you wish to make for me to make a video on the foundations and designs of foundations, different types of foundations, and the conditions why you need to have those foundations, not the other foundations, I'm more than happy to do so. Just leave me the comments in the comment section, and also on this one, just leave me a comment about this video. What do you think about this? But never mind. I said I'm sometimes doing this very chaotic, so I'll come back to story now. So the piling company turned up, and now we dug 27 linear meter of the foundation excessively to 1.6, let's say 1.7 in average. The piling company, if you don't know, they do foundations at the depth of 50 centimeters. So the rule is at the lowest part of the ground, you have to be 40, as minimum as 40 centimeter beneath the ground level. So if the lowest ground is 40 centimeter, it goes up, then obviously the depth of foundation follows. You can do step foundations, by the way, just in case somebody thinks it's like you don't have to go this way. Yeah, you can do step foundations, I know, but that's a different story. You're talking about more or less flat grounds, okay? And the piling foundations don't have to go any wider than 50 centimeters, despite even current width of the walls. You can go 50 centimeters, not 600 or 700 in some cases these days. 50 centimeters still stands. Why? Because they are reinforced. But again, I will make a separate video on the foundations if you like. So all that ground was excavated. There was 3 trucks of muck. Each truck is over 12 to 14 tons. There's 3 trucks that removed the muck from the ground, taken away, and the 2 skips full of muck again. Now, to bring this back to 50 centimeter depth, that means the foundations had to be brought back manually with MOT. I brought all the ground back in, manually shifted and filled back in. That's over 20 tons. Over 20, I think it was about 25 tons of MOT had to be bring to site and filled back in to bring these foundations up, because the piling company, they would not work in that depth. It's too dangerous for them. Reason, ground can collapse while they're doing the piling foundations. Again, I'll do this video, but it's basically, it involves vibrations, and vibration means the ground's shaking and everything is collapsing. So that's too dangerous, simples. So that has to be brought back. And then when the piling company, they do concrete, and obviously if the foundation already collapsed into it, they've gone even wider on the edges, and when it was all brought back up to 50 centimeters, that wasn't 600 wide anymore. In some cases that was 70, 80. So you'd have to either do the shuttering or just go with it and then cast the concrete, which customer decided to do. He basically poured the concrete down. If I remember right, it was like 4 cubic meters excessively of concrete poured in. That's loads of money. So here it is. Basically, a customer lost over £5,000 because he did not want to listen. He assumed the pile foundations would be very expensive, and eventually they were, but not because the piling foundations are expensive. It's because he did not listen, and that could be avoided. We could simply stop at the first stretch, fill it back up with the ground we already have, just put it back down and whack it down. That's absolutely normal. Again, I will make a video about pile foundations, why this is acceptable. And then so he spends on all those materials, all that labor that's been done previously and after piling foundations, it all went up. So yeah, that's how customer lost over £5,000 in the foundations. So if you're a builder, now where is the tip for you to listen? Why is it so important for you to know? The customer, again, lost over £5,000 at the start of the extension, most people that when they're building, they've got the budget, and obviously when they do quotations, they're trying to fit the quotations to the budget, and our quotation was fit to his budget. So what happens is, what's going to happen, this customer is going to look for savings somewhere. He's going to try to avoid spending all that money. He's going to try to save that money and cut the corners somewhere else. So the tip is, if you fall into a situation like this and this has happened, you need to be aware that he's going to try to cut corners, or at least speak to him right at that situation and say, well, that's the big implication to your budget. Are you still in the budget your own? And then resolve with him that way. But that's what usually happening. So be careful with this. Again, if you like this video, please hit that subscribe button here, there, I don't know. Hit the subscribe button. If you think that story was helpful and you want to hear more, there's loads of these stories, then please share it, subscribe to my channel, share this video, and fill in the comments and let me know. Cheers.